Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, little topic video. Today, Zane Smith versus Carson Hocevar. Obviously, we know what happened last weekend at Chicagoland. We know what has happened between these two in the past, going back to the Truck Series at times. We know, this is just, if you look at it all here. So we had two dust-ups last weekend. Carson Hocevar, Zane Smith, looked like Zane got into Carson. Ended up taking them both out, and Zane ended up hitting the wall, which, if you watched racing at all, and as you can see in the background, I've been a fan of the top guy there for a long time, and respect the hell of the guy at the bottom. And so I've seen a lot of drivers, quote, wreck people on purpose, and make it not look like on purpose. One of the keys to that is not taking yourself out. But you know what? Zane ended up finishing 28th. Carson ended up finishing 22nd. So Carson ended up actually doing better than what Zane did when Zane's the one that kind of spun him. Obviously, we had a bigger one with Shane Van Gisbergen and Austin Hill, so that kind of took the media's attention this week. And so I don't know if Zane was starving for attention or exactly what, but he went on this podcast last night, was it Reven's Racing or whatever it was, and, voices this pleasure with Carson, which is cool. I love drivers that don't like each other. Again, that's the era I started watching wrestling, or watching NASCAR in, and that guy didn't like a lot of people. A lot of people didn't like that guy. So I like having rivalries. I was a fan when, Darrell Waltrip was hated, and then he gets spun for $1 million by Rusty Wallace at the All-Stars Charlotte. All of a sudden, Darrell's now a fan favorite. Kyle Busch is getting booed out of these tracks. Unfortunately, he goes on a losing streak. Now he's cheered. He's beloved. So I've seen this go back and forth, and I love rivalries. I love that. I don't want Jeff and Dale Earnhardt stuff. I don't want people wrecking everybody at every shot, but I want the rivalries. But what's weird about this to me, not a lot of talk this week about Zane and Carson, and Zane is the one that spun Carson on Sunday, but all of a sudden now Zane's talking shit, which is fine, that's cool, talking shit's not the right word, but he's on the podcast saying, hey, I hate this guy, blah, blah, blah. Great. More power to you. I guess Carson's been putting some stuff on social media about it. So a lot of people have had their opinions on everything. So it's like, okay, you know what? Let's take a look at stats. I'm going to go back and kind of review stats of both guys in the ARCA and in the NASCAR. Their careers have coincided to a point. Carson is 23 years old. Zane is 27. Zane started racing in the ARCA Series in 2026 through 2021. He had 45 starts, 4 wins, 22 top 5s, 29 top 10s, 3 poles. 2018, Zane was full-time in the ARCA Series, second in points. 20 races, 4 wins, 12 top 5s, 13 top 10s. And that's a hell of a season for the ARCA Series. But what's crazy about it is look at the top 3 in ARCA that year in 2018. Sheldon Creed, Zane Smith, and Riley Herbst. Wow. Sheldon is won a race in the O'Reilly Series, and Zane and Riley are both in the Cup Series. Okay? Zane went on to the Truck Series 2020 to 2023, 4 full seasons. 92 races ran in those 4 full seasons. 9 wins, 35 top 5s, 57 top 10s, 3 poles. Here's the stat that make those 4 seasons stand out to me for Zane. Second, first, 7th in points. This guy, his first 3 years, second, and first in points. 2 different teams. GMS, he finished second in points. Again, this is during the playoffs. So you had to get through that first round of 3, the second round of 3, and get to that championship race. And he still finished second twice and won the championship. And then finished 7th in his last full season. That's remarkable. Part-time, in 2024, he ran 5 races, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s. I mean, those are awesome stats. I love it. In the O'Reilly Series, Zane only made 12 starts, 2 top 5s, 8 top 10s. In 2019, he made 10 starts for JRM, 10 races, 2 top 5s, 7 top 10s. Those are pretty good stats. A lot of drivers want those. He came with the Cup Series in 2023. Ran part-time for Front Row Motorsports. Ran one race for Rick Ware. This is when Front Row was trying to decide between Zane, if he's the future, or if Todd Gilliland is going to be the future. I know we're kind of, as fans, we're like, well, what's going on here? You know, I get, you know, we know what Zane's done in the Truck Series. We know what Todd Gilliland's done in the Truck Series. You know, why is there kind of a, you know, struggle between these two? 8 races, 1 top 10 for Front Row Motorsports. In 2024, Zane ended up leaving Front Row and going over to Trackhouse, but he was kind of put in that third team for Spire. Didn't have a great season that year. Finished 30th in points, I believe it was. Yes. 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s his rookie season. He ended up coming back to one thing when Spire couldn't. When NASCAR did the charter agreement, they went from 4 charters to 3 because the plan for Spire at one point was to do 4 full-time teams, which was going to be, you know, Suarez, Chastain. I think it was going to be Chastain, SVG, Connor, Zelich, and Zane Smith was the 4 drivers they had because we knew Daniel was probably on his way out. When they changed it to only 3 full-time charters, basically Trackhouse had to decide between Zane Smith and Connor Zelich. They knew Connor was coming, so unfortunately they had to let Zane Smith go. He signed on with Front Row Motorsports, 25 and 26. In 2025, didn't have a bad season with Front Row. Now he's had 100 starts in the Cup Series total. He 5 top 5, 16 top 10s. So far this year, Zane is currently 23rd in points. He started the season out pretty hot there. 6th at Daytona, 7th at Atlanta. Ended up getting to 5th place at Talladega. Then he had a couple top 10s at Charlotte and Nashville, and then a 4th place at Coronado, which is pretty amazing. He's not a road course guy, but he's actually ran well some of the speedways this year and in the road course. Got that first stage win there at Daytona this past February. He's had a pretty good career so far. Now we move on to Carson Hocevar. 23 years old. He started in the ARC Series 2018, ran through 2021, 17 races, 7 top 5s, 13 top 10s, never ran a full season. 2020 got into the Truck Series. He was full-time between 2020 and 2024. He's very partial the last couple of years. He's ran for Spire kind of part-time the last couple of years in the Truck Series. 2021 through 2023 he was full-time with NASCAR Motorsports. His 3 full-time seasons, he was 10th, 10th, and 3rd in points. During that time, he had 77 starts when he was full-time, 4 wins, 21 top 5s, 33 top 10s. In 2025 and 26, he was part-time racing for Spire in the Truck Series, 13 races, 2 wins, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s. And we know earlier this year he finished second to Kyle Busch, and then he actually beat Kyle Busch. So it was kind of cool seeing when Kyle won, I think it was Atlanta earlier in the season, Atlanta, having him talk about Carson as a teammate and helping him. And if it wasn't for Carson, Kyle wouldn't have won that. And you saw it later in the year. I think it was Texas, where I think it was Texas that Kyle finished second to Carson in the Truck Series. Yeah. And so Carson was kind of the same way about Kyle and stuff. So that was really neat seeing them in equally prepared Spire trucks and kind of being that teammate and kind of that mentor for him. And so Carson ended up in the O'Reilly Series only for 8 races in his career, 3 top 10s. He came to the Cup Series there in 2023 with Spire, or 2024, in Spire Motorsports number 77. Now, Carson's now had 100 starts in the Cup Series. He's had 1 win, 7 top 5s, 22 top 10s. We know Spire wasn't a great team up until this year. They expanded their partnership with Hendrick Motorsports and Alliance. They've gotten better as an organization as well. If you look at the last 2 years, Carson 21st and 23rd in points. Currently this year he is 9th in points, has that win at Talladega. A couple top 5 finishes at Atlanta and Darlington, that Talladega win, 5th at Michigan, his home track, was the fastest lap there, and at Daytona. Now, If you go back to 2024, both of these drivers were rookies in the Cup Series. Now, Hocevar had ran his first career race, 2023 at Gateway, technically subbing for Chase Elliott, but Corey LaJoie moved to the 9 car that weekend because that's when Chase was suspended from Charlotte. And Carson filled in the 7 car. Was running top 20, unfortunately blew a brake rotor, ended up finishing 36th. Now, if you look at Zane Smith, when he first came in, he actually made his Cup start, first Cup debut, also at Gateway, also in a relief situation. He took over the number 17 for Chris Buescher. I think he was out with COVID or he was sick or something, and he missed the race. And Zane filled in at Gateway as well, finished 17th there in 2022. In 2023, Zane ran 8 races for Front Row Motorsports, the same way that Carson ran 8 races in 2023 for Legacy Motor Club, which brings us to that 2024 season. You have both of them in Spire Motorsports cars. The 71 Zane Smith was the newest third team for Spire, but it was also part of Trackhouse. So Trackhouse was helping with everything on that car. It was just under the Spire banner. If you compare that to the Carson Spire season in 2024, literally same shot. These guys are in. Carson had 1 top 5, Zane 2 top 5s. Carson 6 top 10s, Zane 4 top 10s. Carson was 21st in points. Zane was 30th in points. Everybody, when you start comparing stats among drivers, a lot of people talk about equipment. And like we're talking about Spire now, finishing currently Carson's 8th, and Front Row Motorsports is down a little bit in the 20s. Well, the equipment. Spire's gotten better this year. But in 2024, it was basically Spire, and it was kind of before Spire got better. Now, if you look at it, I know Trackhouse had a Hound in that 71. The Trackhouse cars in 2024, Daniel Suarez was 12th, and Ross Chastain was 19th. Zane was 30th. If you look at, and that was Trackhouse. Now, Carson's other teammate that year would have been Corey LaJoie and Justin Haley. Obviously, it's hard because they ended up swapping rides. Corey was 33rd and Justin Haley was 31st. But that was also Rick Ware Racing involved there too. So it's kind of hard to look at that teammate. From what social media has done for this rivalry is you either are Team Carson or Team Zane. Personally, I'm a Carson Hocevar fan over Zane Smith. My reasoning, 2023 Gateway, I got to meet Carson. Got a picture with him. First driver I got a picture with that day. And he was his rookie, you could see almost deer in headlights. And his first NASCAR Cup race, my first NASCAR Cup race as a fan, in person, I've watched it since 1986 on TV, but actually at the track. So that was kind of cool to me. I get to meet him in his first race. I went back in 2025 at Worldwide Technology. Wearing a Carson Hocevar shirt, mind you. Got to meet Carson as well. He got a top 15 run that day. Now, I didn't get a picture with Zane that day. Zane ended up finishing 33rd. So, I've always respected what Zane could do because what he did in the Truck Series there, second, and first, and people don't do that. I mean, it's amazing. But I would say I'm Team Carson on this one. I like the fact that Carson's not polished, the fact that he's rough, that he is aggressive, and that he's trying to put the car somewhere on lap 5 that most drivers wouldn't do until it's 5 to go. Is he overly aggressive? At times, yes. What I don't understand about this is, yes, Carson takes chances. Carson's unfortunately taking some people out. A lot of people have. I mean, that guy took a few people out in his career too, I'm just saying. And a lot of people, and that's another thing, young Dale Earnhardt. I'm not talking 7-time champion Dale Earnhardt. I'm talking the Dale Earnhardt from the late 70s up until that first championship he won with Ron Osterlund when he drove for Bud Moore. That Dale Earnhardt is what Dale Jr. was comparing Carson to. Not the 7-time champion, not the polished version, not the businessman. That young Dale Earnhardt in the late 70s, early 80s, who was overly aggressive, that came in and ruffled the feathers of some of the veterans of the establishment. And, you know, when he became the, quote, establishment, Ernie Irvan comes in, Swervin' Irvan he was called. That guy put his arm around him and told him basically knock it off or else. He knocked it off. Unfortunately, in this day and age, we don't have that. You know, we had this kid come in the mid-2000s, greatest thing since sliced bread. And people still hate him for it. And Joey even said, I was exactly the same. People still hate me for it, but they love him for it. Fans love that. We have a lot of drivers that are, quote, vanilla. Not my words, somebody else's. I like the personality. And then I like Zane having personality. This is the most personality we've seen out of Zane Smith since he's been in the Cup Series. I love it. I just don't want it to be consistently a wreckfest. I don't want what happened at Chicagoland to just rinse, repeat. I want these guys battling for wins. Now, if they're battling for a top 10 finish or top 5 finish, and whoops, something happens either side, okay, cool, you know what, that's racing. That's that rubbing is racing kind of thing. But this social media getting involved in these podcasts and whatnot, everyone happened to say it, and it's, to me, it's like Zane just wanted attention. He wasn't getting attention from last weekend, so I'm going to get my 2 cents of fame here. Obviously got a lot of people talking. Obviously I'm doing a video about it. So yeah, I mean, we need rivalries. We need this, you know, Dale Earnhardt versus Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Bodine versus Dale Earnhardt, the Jeff Gordon versus Dale Earnhardt. We need those in this sport. We don't need everyone wrecking one another, period. So I look forward to seeing how these two drivers go forward. Atlanta is a different breed. I don't think we're going to see a lot of anything happen in Atlanta, which I hope not, because it's a high-speed track, pack racing. You bump somebody here wrong, you're taking out half the field. We don't need that. What the two did at Chicagoland, what Zane did, if Zane felt that was, quote, payback, cool, you know, that's fine. Same way with Lachie Van Gisbergen. If he thought that was payback to Austin for some other stuff in the past, cool. I don't want to see Carson and or Austin Hill retaliate at Atlanta. Don't do that. Atlanta, Talladega, Daytona, Pocono, Michigan, do not retaliate at these tracks. We get to North Wilkesboro, you want to go beating and banging and kind of nudge it up there and push them out of the way, more power to it. The only issue I have is, yes, Carson is aggressive. Some people don't like that, and that's cool. He's overly aggressive. He's too aggressive sometimes, and I understand that. But when it's done back to him, it's been done twice this year. We have one point of view when Zane did it. A lot of people who don't like Carson, he got his. He deserved that. Zane should be praised for that. I've seen that. But when Bubba did it at Martinsville, Bubba should have been suspended for it. That's the problem I have. Is when it's done back to him, it depends on who did it back. Either it's a bad thing or a good thing. I don't know. I'm glad nobody was penalized on at Chicagoland. I'm good for that. Let's keep it as a rivalry, but not wrecking all the time. That makes sense. So, all right, Zane Smith versus Carson Hocevar. It seems like current social media, you have to take sides. I am Team Carson all the way. Let's go Hurricane. As always, thanks for watching the Rubber Sports Show. And don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Rubber Sports Show, your YouTube leader, sports channel content.